prime thing is you have to win.
Ill intent, violence, physicality, pain. Enough is enough.
All right, welcome back to the Just Win podcast. We are live after the game like we are every week. Win, loss, draw, we are here. And unfortunately, we're here for another loss. That's Tashan Reed. I'm Ted Wynn. That's Vic Tafer. And we are coming at you guys after the Raiders lose 32-13 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the score was a little bit more lopsided than the game was, and that's more of an indictment on the Raiders. I'm not even saying that like is an excuse. The Raiders had an opportunity to make this game a lot more competitive, but they repeatedly shot themselves in the foot like the Raiders typically do, and the score ended up being what it was. What are your takeaways from the game?
The opposite reaction. I thought Justin Fields had hit about 5 guys who were wide open. It would have been a lot worse of a score. I thought he clearly is the exciting player to watch. He makes a lot of great plays, but he makes a lot of plays a lot tougher than they should be, and he misses guys who are wide open. There were like at least 5 guys who he threw the ball way over their heads. But I thought the better team won. Obviously, the Raiders were shorthanded. I thought they made some mistakes, some critical ones, and I didn't think it was ever really in doubt, the outcome.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the Raiders were lucky to only be down by 5 at halftime. Their offense played pretty poorly after the opening drive, and the defense made some plays here and there to keep them in it. But like you said, I mean, Fields missed some wide open guys, and the Steelers had their own self-inflicted mistakes early on in their first half. They had a ton of offensive penalties, and they weren't just like minor penalties. They were like holding penalties to put them in a bunch of 1st and 20 and 3rd and long situations. And so, Steelers ended up getting their stuff together on both sides of the ball and pulling away. But, I didn't really feel like this was a game that the Raiders should have won. I think the defense, all things considered, like I thought they were fine for most of the game. But then in the second half, they really started to wear down, missed a lot of tackles. Steelers got their run game going, and that's when they pulled away. But I think the biggest thing that's concerning coming out of this game is the offense still sucks. Even with the quarterback change, and they were missing a ton of guys on the side of the ball, of course, injury-wise, and they were going against a tough defense. But they felt like they were playing scared in this one, in my opinion, which not in terms of being scared of contact, but just not taking enough risks, not being aggressive, and really didn't help anyway because, they turned the ball over 3 times. They had a block punt, so they ended up giving the ball to the Steelers a bunch, even while trying to be conservative. And so didn't really do them any good, but, this wasn't a surprising outcome based on the way the game was going.
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
go ahead, Vic.
I was going to say, obviously, they were without Davante Adams, which, that's a big hurdle to jump over. But missing Jacoby Myers is also really a big deal because I think he's gone against, top cornerbacks. I think he's up for the challenge, whereas Trey Tucker doesn't have much experience going against guys like Joey Porter Jr. I think he clearly had a really hard time in that matchup. I think he had 0 catches on 2 targets, and he was kind of your best guy going in with the receiving core, and so he was a non-factor. And Brock Bowers, even though the Steelers kind of made him a focal point of their defense, still finished with 9 catches, so that shows you the kind of player he is, but not enough weapons on offense to compete to stay close in this game. I did think it was weird how Madison got off to a great start, and they kind of went away from him for some reason, but I guess Pierce said they want to get a lot of guys involved, which in hindsight was not a great idea.
Yeah, to me, I think watching from the TV copy, we can't see who's wide open for the Steelers. But I will say, from my point of view, it just seemed like there's a difference between the Raiders' mistakes and the Steelers' mistakes because a holding penalty happens. Sometimes it happens because you're trying to hold somebody that's pulling away from you, but then the Raiders' penalties are more like they're avoidable if you do the right things. For them to get 2 roughing the passer penalties right after big 3rd down stops was pretty huge. The first one, I hate that rule. Like I hate the whole weight on the quarterback rule, but it's still the letter of the law. You can't have your weight on the quarterback, and there's other teams that we've seen do good jobs of avoiding it. But it's tough on the Raiders to call somebody up from the practice squad and have them come in and do that. And then the second roughing the passer penalty was definitely self-inflicted. Like, you just can't do that. Like, that was so late. And then they had
Well, the second one, I think the second one they had no idea he threw the ball. I think the second one they thought he still had the ball. So I don't think they really. I mean, obviously it's
Crosby let up. Like, Crosby let up, and then
right.
you know,
Was it Butler? I think it was Adam Butler. Who was the guy who dragged him down. I think
No, it was Tashan. It was Tashan.
My bad, Jason. Sorry, Jason. But I think I thought he had the ball still, and so yeah, definitely two. Like you said, they're tough calls, but that's kind of the way the league is going nowadays.
Yeah. And I know Raider fans are mad about the illegal man downfield penalty that wiped away a touchdown, but it was illegal man downfield. The ball was on a 6-yard line. Jackson Powers Johnson was on a 3-yard line. Like, he was there the whole time. So, I mean, that's a full 3 yards downfield. So I know one of the announcers was kind of like saying it could have been excused, but the referees are hard on the rule this year. They're getting called everywhere. So, and it's an RPO. When you call an RPO, you can't extend the play because guys are going to get downfield. RPO is a run pass option. The offensive line is run blocking. There's a pass option. Aiden O'Connell didn't throw the ball because it would have been a pick six if he threw it. So he did the smart thing by not throwing the ball. But if you try to throw it, you're going to have an illegal man downfield. These guys are run blocking. So it's just one of those unfortunate plays. And right after, a few plays later, they end up getting a fumble on the 1 yard line, which is another blown opportunity. Then you have to block punt. There's just so many like self-inflicted mistakes that could have been avoided. But this is not a very well coached team, and it's like this thing happens to the Raiders for 20 years now, so you can't just say it's a one-off.
Yeah, this is a bad team doing bad things. I mean, I know they're only 2-4 and it's early in the season and all that, but I mean, who really thinks they're going to pull themselves out of this hole? They have this pretty tough stretch, I would say, leading up to their bye week, going on the road against the Rams, hosting the Chiefs, and then going on the road again against the Bengals. Like, I don't know, at best 3-6 coming out of that, most likely. And so this season isn't heading in the right direction, and it's not surprising. I mean, they have a ton of backups out there. They're one of the youngest teams in the league. They have a first-year head coach. These are the type of things that happen, and when you're already starting from a low place, like this isn't a very talented team, those kind of mistakes, really doesn't matter who you're playing against. I mean, we've seen that this season. I mean, the Panthers game, the Steelers haven't been great this year. I know they started off 3-0, but they hadn't looked good in their last couple of games. But when you're not a good team, you can't afford to make these mistakes. But they're going to keep doing it. I mean, I don't see why we would expect that to change at this point.
And some mistakes, I'm sure, are harder to take than others. Like, I think we've talked about, Pierce and some of his coaching decisions in terms of game time stuff. And again, today, the Amir Abdullah play where he scored a touchdown, the replay showed he was in for the end zone. They called him short, and Pierce decided not to challenge. I guess he said he asked the other people, hey, was that a close play? Because they're trying to hurry up offense. Like, yeah, it was close. So, yeah, never mind. We'll just go for it. So they went on to the next play, and he's like, you never expect if you run like, a zone run the next play, you're going to fumble the ball, which is what happened. Abdullah fumbled, but clearly you got to review that play. I mean, it's a touchdown. You got to, especially the Raiders have a hard time scoring points. You can't, if you actually get in, you have to really say, hey, make sure we didn't get in. Double check, because I think we did. You got to really, you got to challenge that play. And then the other one, which I was speechless about for about 10 minutes, was they gave Dylan Labe the ball. They gave the rookie running back his first ever carry of his career, and T.J. Watt knocked the ball loose. It was a fumble. It was a big turnaround, and I just don't understand why you would give Labe the ball. I think at this point, Masson was running the ball really, really well. Amir Abdullah is much, much better than Dylan Labe. I don't know why I asked Pierce after the game, was that a plan going in to give him a touch? Like, I don't understand. And he's like, no, the plan was to get him in the game, but he clearly didn't think like he was on board with giving him a touch. So I just think, I just don't know what and again, I don't want to kill the rookie. He's a nice kid, but he's not showing anything in camp or preseason to warrant getting an NFL carry in the game. The game was, at that point, it was 7-6. It was 7-6. I think the Raiders were up at that point, 7-6. Second quarter, I just don't. You can't give him the ball, and that you just can't do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Go ahead.
I could lobby a little bit of slack. I mean, I don't know. Like Alexander Madison, like he had a good first drive, but I mean, he averaged 2.4 yards per carry today. It wasn't like he was great. So I mean,
Well,
Amir
yeah, so
Abdullah got a bunch of carries. You know what I mean? So I mean, yeah, I don't know. Even in the first half, I mean, he had what 8 carries for 25 yards. Like that's cool, I guess. But
we had 6 for
yeah, it wasn't like
25 in the
he's.
No, I mean, obviously the Steelers realized that if we stop him, we're going to be in pretty good shape. He had 6 carries for 25 yards on a first touchdown drive. After that, it was nothing. But I still, Amir Abdullah has shown, even last week, that big run. I mean, he's just, he's an NFL running back. I don't want to kill the kid. Don't allow his guy. I mean, he can maybe get better and grow into a role. But right now, he shouldn't be getting hands on the ball in a game at 7-6. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and to me, those are 5 very avoidable mistakes. And I know the Steelers had holding penalties and things like that, but to me, that's a different category of mistakes. The Raiders' mistakes are just like, why are you doing this? But it is what it is, and that the Steelers win these types of games. They've been doing it since Mike Tomlin took over as coach, and even before that, the Raiders don't. So that's the difference to me. So next we'll talk about the quarterback change. I know you guys don't feel like it made a difference, but I thought O'Connell played fine today. Of course, there's a couple mistakes. The interception was bad, but I thought he got rid of the ball. He was accurate. He let guys run after the catch. He was inaccurate on one ball to Harrison Bryant, but other than that, he was putting the ball in a spot where guys could run after the catch, which I thought Gardner Minshew stunk at. Pressure rate today was a big difference, only 14.6% pressure rate. Gardner Minshew didn't get close to that. He was pressured on 30 to 40% of pressures in every game. And as we know, pressures are a quarterback stat. And that was, I thought was the difference today. And he drove the ball pretty well against a top 5 type of defense, missing Jacoby Myers, Davante Adams. That's a big thing to ask for a quarterback, missing their top 2 receivers against a top 5 type of defense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was fine. I don't know if fine is a word I would use. Like, he wasn't as bad as Minshew has been, probably, but I still think it was just kind of like a whatever performance. I mean, but it is what it is. Like, he's a limited quarterback. I mean, he's a smart guy and knows the system well and knows how to read defenses, but he's just, he doesn't have a great arm talent. He's not mobile. Like, there's only so much you can do. And clearly the game plan in this one was, pretty much drop back and throw it as soon as you're back, you hit the back of your drop. And that was fine on the opening drive. I think it was 4 for 4 for 45 yards on that touchdown drive. But eventually, a good defense is going to adjust. And like if you can't throw the ball downfield, and if you're inaccurate whenever you have to throw the ball intermediate to deep, like you're not going to have a good passing game. Like it's not going to be the case. And he couldn't do anything when it was just dump offs. It was fine. Like little 2 yard passes to the tight end or running back or whatever. But anytime he actually had to make a throw outside of that DJ Turner one, I mean, whatever. But I mean, the pick was pretty bad. The game was pretty much already out of hand at that point, so I don't really put too much stock into the pick. But I mean, the Raiders have 2 below average starting quarterbacks on the roster. I think one's a little bit more risk averse than the other, but I think they're going to get around the same quality of play from both. I don't think either one of these guys is good enough to lift the offense, and we've seen enough from both of them at this point to say that. I feel.
You want to know how bad the receiving situation was today? DJ Turner had 4 targets. Some guy named Bachman had 3 targets. Wilkerson had 3 targets.
That's fine, but it was also guys that were open that he just overthrew guys. Like Harrison Brown was wide open on the interception. The guy was open. He just overthrew it over his head. I mean, some of these guys were open. He just
that was his one. I thought that was one.
No, he had more than one. We're watching all 22. We can see the whole thing. Like he missed guys. Like that's just what it is. And we saw him last year. He had Davante Adams for 10 games last year. And he looked the same. Like he's just not that good, and it's fine. He was a day 3 pick, and I think that's cool for a day 3 pick. But like the quarterback answer isn't on the roster this season. Like I think we all kind of felt that coming into the year, and we've seen that from both of these guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, the games where Aiden had success in last year were games they were ahead. They got the lead and they were ahead in. Once they fall behind, his lack of mobility really hurts him. And you see, like in that last sequence, we had the interception and the near safety before that, when teams are coming after him and to put pressure on him, he gets a little skittish in the back of the pocket. He doesn't like to get hit. He wants to get hit, but I just think he's not built to be down a couple scores in the NFL because he can't really get out of the way of pressure. He's not great at moving around the pocket, and he does make bad throws. I mean, I know not usually when he has time and he's letting it rip, he's more accurate than Gardner Minshew, but he does make bad throws under pressure. So I don't. For him, you got to have a lead to have a chance to win. If you fall behind with Aiden O'Connell, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, this just wasn't a good. They couldn't run the ball. They ran the ball well on that first drive, but the rest of the game they couldn't run. The pass protection was okay. I thought it was fine, but with Aiden O'Connell, like if you're pass first against the top two defense in the league, like the Steelers are coming into this year, like it's probably not going to work out, and especially with, your top two receivers out, your number two tight end out, your starting right tackles out, your starting right guard, Dylan Parham got hurt, like start running backs out. Like what do we really, expect from this offense? But I think for me, like I don't put too much blame, on the players on offense for this one because they were very limited, but the play calling to me was really rough, in my opinion, from offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. I thought it was just really conservative. I don't really think they gave them much of a chance. I mean, it was pretty early on in the game. I mean, they had that nice first drive, but their second drive, you're leading 7-3. You get the 3rd and 11, and you hand the ball off. It's like, like they just drove 70 yards. Like, give them a chance to at least do something. And I know that sounds like nitpicking, but that was the theme throughout the entire game. They just kind of called it really tight. They clearly didn't trust O'Connell and the offense, and I didn't really give him much of a chance in this one.
Do you guys put that more on Getsy, or do you think it was like a AP thing to be ultra conservative? Because they got. Oh, go ahead.
We asked Pierce about the play calling after the game, and he's like, there were chances there. I mean, that they had plays set up where Aiden didn't let it rip. So I think it's on both. I think if AP watches the film, it's going to be on both the play calling and O'Connell being a little gun shy. And again, that's also on Pierce and the coaching staff. I think when you go into a game, and what Pierce said on Friday, his marching orders for O'Connell were no turnovers, no turnovers, no turnovers. So if you're a quarterback, you're like, I can't fucking throw a pick. I mean, I gotta be extra sure that. I mean, so I think you get a little tight. You probably don't want to take a chance on a 40-yard pass because it might get picked off. Then the coach, hey man, I fucking said no turnovers. But so I think it's harder to pull a trigger if that's kind of your mindset going in. And again, you can't downplay the receivers. Are the 5 guys in the field today are guys. I think we had, what was the stat, 43 career catches going into the game today, and they took away Trey Tucker, who's really your one mismatchy kind of guy with his speed. They take him away. They focus on Bowers. Then you're throwing to guys who, are not really guys who can, I would say, get open on a regular basis. So I think it's a tough ask for both the quarterback and even the play caller.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I focus more on the NFL for the Athletic. I've never heard of Bachman in my life until they threw him the ball.
He's bounced around for a few years. I think it was in the Giants, like in 2021. He's one of those guys who work hard kind of guy who goes practice squads. And all these guys are Wilkerson. His last catch was in 2021 with the Patriots. I mean, all these guys today. DJ Turner's kind of been on the practice squad for the Raiders up and down the last few years. So all these guys have paid their dues. But clearly they're on the fringe, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, and that's a great point because I thought the same thing coming into the game when I was hearing all these comments about turnovers. I was like, how do you get your quarterback into the game and be aggressive and let him play his game when all you're talking about is turnovers? And AP told the commentating crew that the difference between Aiden O'Connell, or he wants Aiden O'Connell to play like it's hot potato or something. I was like, how do you play quarterback like that? It's like such a limited mindset. So, I mean, I understand. Yeah, you want to limit the turnovers and whatnot, but like when you just drill that into the quarterback's brain, it's hard to play. And then, then later on you want him to be aggressive. Like it's kind of rough.
Yeah, I mean, it turned him into a robot. I mean, he's already pretty robotic, but, I mean, they put a lot of guardrails around him. And then I think the worst sequence for Luke Getsy from a play calling standpoint was early in the third quarter where I think they were down by one score. And Brock Bowers had that nice catch. I think it was like a one-handed catch, but it got taken back by a holding call. So they were in a first and 20 situation. They run the ball, get 2 yards. You run the ball again on second and 18. And then on third down, they like tried some swing pass to Amir Abdullah that fell incomplete. And then the punt got blocked. And that was pretty much the end of the game because the Steelers scored a touchdown and that was that. And it's just like, I mean, you're not even, I don't want to say quit. It's like you're not even trying to pick up a first down at that point. Like, it's one thing if you run the ball on first down and you gain 10 yards or something like that and you get a lot of the yardage back to set something up, but like they basically just punt it after the penalty. And, it was a one-score game. You're at home. You have a chance to take the momentum back early in the third quarter, and that's what you do. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, being aggressive doesn't guarantee you're going to be successful on offense, but I think it's better to go down swinging than doing stuff like that. And, at that point, the game was pretty much out of hand. Once they fell behind by 2 scores, they were pretty much done.
Yeah, as soon as they hit that 1st and 20, it was almost like they were like, "We're not even trying to get this. We're just going to try to get field position," which is not a way to live on in a football game. Like, it's just cowardly football, in my opinion. Like, you cannot win games like that. I mean, if you have a top flight defense, maybe you could take the Jim Harbaugh approach, but this is a defense that's beat up, and you don't have a top flight defense. I mean, maybe if you get into passing mode and you can get a pass rush going, Max Crosby, but this is not a defense that's just going to like consistently shut out guys, and we've seen them wear out throughout the season, and they wore out again today.
Yeah, so the loss of Wilkins is a big deal, man. He was a top guy, so it's hard to replace him. And even if you did well, like the tackling was pretty good. I thought the first half it got a lot worse second half, but there's wear and tear, and Najee Harris does run hard, and but I guess he kind of got the best of him.
Najee Harris was struggling to break tackles before this game.
Everyone was. No, I looked it up. It's only his 4th 100-yard game in the last 3 years. I mean, I don't think he's very good, but I know it sucks because he's a local kid from the Bay Area like I am. But I don't think he's that good. But clearly today he had the answers, and there was a lot of missed tackles on that one run down the sideline where he scored, and he had one where he had 3 efforts up the middle. He got like 15 yards and broke some tackles. So. And the Raiders defense, we coming in, we thought they might be really good. Clearly, the injuries have taken a toll, and some guys have not been as good as we thought they were going to be. Also, so it's not a very good defense. So it's kind of like you're in a really tough spot trying to play conservative on offense, and your defense can't hold up.
Yeah, they made Najee Harris look like Jerome Bettis today, and I know you guys talked about the missed tackles this week, but they were a big part of the game today.
Yeah, I mean, they entered this week leading the league in missed tackles, which is obviously not a stat you want to be leading the league in. And it continued today. I mean, whether it was, Najee Harris looking like Marshawn Lynch, who was at this game, maybe that's why he started playing so well in this one. But or even Justin Fields, like he's not running guys over, but he was evading guys, whether it was on design runs or scrambling or even just buying more time in the pocket. Like they're really struggling to tackle right now. And again, like this defense is banged up. They're down a few starters. They're carrying a pretty heavy workload given how bad the offense is. But this is just like basic, fundamental stuff. Some of these plays could have been short yardage gains or short completions, and they turn into big plays because they can't tackle. And so, I don't think the defense deserves like the Lions' share to blame for this one, but tackling was pretty bad. Like especially on that run, that long Najee Harris run after the block punt. I mean, I don't know how many tackles he broke on that one, but it was a bunch of them. And, that's just not really, the caliber of defense that, they were expecting to be playing this year.
Yeah, there was another one where Najee just shook the daylights out of Jack Jones. And,
that was bad.
Yeah, like Jack Jones, it's not like Marcus Peters where he's avoiding tackles because he's actually trying to come up and make these tackles, but it's just bad technique. And sometimes he's just too small and he ends up getting broken. And on Twitter, he kind of lashed out at fans saying, I think, fans wouldn't last a second in an NFL or something like that. And,
What an astute observation there. I would not have guessed that fans would not make it in the NFL. That's wow.
Yeah. And there was like a moment of frustration, looked like on a sideline with Max Crosby pushing off the coach. But on Twitter, he said, It was a love thing and not a
Love push.
love push. Yeah, not an aggressive.
Come on, I'm sure you made some love pushes in your time, Ted.
Did I? I don't know. I keep my hands to myself.
Yeah, it was not. I know
I
it.
just
Love pushes. That's interesting. Getting a little X-rated on here, but yeah, I mean, it was lighthearted. He said after the game in the locker room after the game that they have this little thing where they try to hype each other up, and there's a little pushing and shoving. So it wasn't like he was pushing a coach and they were fighting on the sideline. Like, it was no big deal. Everything was fine.
that's fine.
Last time I seen a love push, it was
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers and Robert Sala. No, I'm kidding. I believe Max. I think it was a hype up thing, but yeah,
Yeah,
not a great look.
I think it was fine.
Yeah.
They
All
got
right,
bigger,
well-
they got bigger problems than that. That's not. They got a lot of bigger fish to fry.
All right, let's get into questions. Raiders GA asks, "Do you trade Max to the Lions for 2 firsts?"
Damn, that's where we are.
It's funny because I actually thought the same, not the quite same thing, but clearly the Lions are in the win it now mode, right? They're trying everything to win this year. They just lost their best passer this year. I'm sure he's out for the year, right? I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
a
he's out
doctor,
for
but
the year.
Yeah,
it seems bad. So maybe they do make a phone call, and I know Max says he's going to die a Raider, and the Raiders don't want to do that, but I don't know, man. I mean, that's his hometown, right? He's from Detroit. He's got some Detroit roots. I don't know. I wouldn't say no. I would definitely consider. I take the phone call.
yeah. 2 firsts. I mean, it was basically what the Brian Burns offer from a couple years ago that the Panthers famously turned down. I think it'd be tough to say no to 2 firsts. Like, do I think the Lions would actually offer 2 firsts? No, I don't. I don't think they would. I do think they will be a little bit desperate to ask Pastor's help with Hudson being out for the year. I can see them offering 1 first, but I think even though that's a good offer, like I don't think I would trade Max Crosby for that. I think he's legitimately probably like a top 5 defensive player in the league. So you throw 2 firsts out there, then you might have to do that. But how realistic is that? Like, I don't think that's super realistic.
That's tough. I mean, where do you think your timeline is? Like, if you think, you're 3 years away from competing, then maybe you do pull the trigger for 2 first-round picks, but it's tough. I mean, he got the Raiders tattooed on him. Like, it's
So is Josh Jacobs.
Consider that.
So is Klee. Klee has a tattoo on him. I mean, that doesn't. Those don't
Klee
come
does?
off. You get those.
Does he really?
Klee has one. All 3 of them got tattoos.
They got it together.
But I mean, they have technology, right? Those things can come off, right? You can remove them, or you can tattoo. I mean, I'm not a tattoo guy, but you can tattoo over them. But yeah, I'm not sure that's why you don't do it. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders, like, we can be honest, like, this is more of a rebuild type of situation, but, I mean, things can turn around quickly. They have a shit ton of cap space this offseason. It looks like they're trending towards having a pretty high pick in the draft. Maybe you can go get a quarterback. If you get the right guy and make some smart signings, like, you can turn around pretty quickly. I mean, the Commanders have shown us that so far this season. So, I just don't think it's. I think it would have to be like a Godfather offer for them to trade Max Crosby. Like, I think he's pretty much off the table at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I just feel like he's the exact type of player you want, and he loves this franchise. Like, all the things going on, and he talks about, like, he's used to this, and he wants to get the Raiders out of this situation, and, like, just dealing with all this crazy stuff. He doesn't even blink. And, like, if you're going to be a Raider, you're going to have to deal with all this stuff. And he seems like he's good with it. So, and he just works his ass off, and, that's the type of guy you want leading your franchise. And like you said, I mean, there's an avenue for the Raiders to be competitive. I don't know if they're going to make the right moves in order to get them there, but yeah, unless the offer is just crazy, I would not do it. All right, Jorge Meza asks, how bad we feeling for Dylan Labe? Our running back room is struggling. Well, Vic doesn't feel bad at all.
Nah, he does not feel bad.
I feel bad for him. I mean, obviously, I don't want to see the kid. He's a nice kid. I don't want to see him fumble. He is, but I mean, he is making what, 400 grand? I don't know. Yeah, I feel bad for him, but what does that mean? They should have had the carry. I don't know what that means. He shouldn't have the ball in his hands. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I don't care how nice the kid you are. He shouldn't be carrying the ball in a game at 7-6.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's been a rough year for the running back room as a whole. I mean, Zamir White wasn't effective when he was healthy. Alexander Madison really hasn't been effective either. Demir Dula, Dylan Lave obviously is not. And so I think it's been as much on the offensive line not being able to block well as much, as it is on the running backs. But certain situations where like Najee Harris today, like he's not even a good running back, and he's able to turn short gains into long ones. Like they just don't have a guy that's shown he's able to do that on a consistent basis. We'll see with Zamir White. It's not expected to be a super long term injury, so he should be able to get back here relatively soon. So maybe he's able to find his stride as the season goes on. But he's probably the only guy amongst the group that has a glimmer of hope to do that. Otherwise, they may have to seek another guy this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, for Labe, there's only one way to go from here. That's up. Look, he's not the only one that made mistakes. There's plenty of Raiders that made mistakes. A veteran running back fumbled at the 1 yard line. It happens.
That is also true.
It sucks that it had to happen on your first carry ever, but we've seen people or really good players have terrible first plays and bounce back. So, yeah.
Yeah. We have somebody on tattoo removal, Rambo Adventures. It says it's a 2 to 3 year process and it's painful as hell. Small tattoo took 14 laser sessions to remove 22 months. Yeah, that Raider tattoo's not going anywhere, but like that's a deep shaded black tattoo too. Yeah, he's white.
It's pretty. It's big too.
Yeah, white guys. It's not coming off, so he's stuck with that.
He's not getting traded. He's staying.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So I wonder what Clee did. I wonder if Clee still has his tattoo. If he got, should reach out to someone to ask Clee what's up with his rare tattoo.
Raiders GA asks, does Getsy last a full season?
I agree. Today was not good. He's had some moments you're questioning what the hell he's thinking this year, but it's tough, man. They have injuries now, the Davante situation. So you have a lot of excuses, and I just don't know what it's going to accomplish if you fire him now. I don't know. Does that make you better next game? I don't know, but I would say I think he does last the full season. My guess is I'll say yes, he'd last the full season, if not more.
Yeah, I think
things could change.
Yeah, I think he lasts the season. I think you got to give a guy. I guess you don't have to, but you think you have to give a guy a little bit more rope to help pick a quarterback. I know he was on the staff when they signed Gardner Minshew, but I don't really know that was ever like a "this is our guy moving forward" type of signing. And I know today brought up the whole comparison of if they should have signed Justin Fields and hired another offensive coordinator instead of Luke Getsy, and I think both of them didn't have the best day today. Like I know the Steelers won, but Justin Fields missed a lot of throws out there. So, and then like you said, Vic, and I think somebody else asked this. Who could take on play calling duties? Like, well, you have Scott Turner, I guess. Like he's still on staff. Like he's been a play caller before. He's probably the only alternative. But I just don't know how much of a difference it makes with these quarterbacks, the offensive line still being kind of inconsistent. Davante most likely still getting traded. Like. I guess you could, but like for what? For who? Like it's not going to really change anything. Last season they fired Josh McDaniels and got rid of Mick Lombardi, and Bo Hardegree took over, and absolutely nothing changed about the offense. It was like literally the same. Except they ran the ball a little bit better, but it was like the same points per game before and after. And so change doesn't always mean better. I think we saw that with the quarterback switch this week. Like I know Ted thinks like O'Connell played better than Minshew, but the offense still stunk. So like changing stuff doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make things better. And that's, you can't act too rashly off of a few games.
All right. This one kind of relates. How different would this team have been with Kingsbury and Fields? I definitely was not a huge fan of Kingsbury, but I liked him a lot better than Getsy. And obviously Kingsbury has been much better than he was that's debatable. Because in in Arizona, if you looked at the numbers that Kyler Murray had his first season with Kingsbury, that's pretty similar to what Jaden Daniels is doing, and it kind of tapered off later in the season. And the type of offense he runs has, it has a limited ceiling as far as developing quarterbacks. We'll see if he kind of builds on that and changes how he does things. But it's a very simple offense, and I think it does work when you have a running quarterback that bails you out of certain things. But I think Jaden Daniels does have special traits as far as accuracy and just his poise. But I do think if they got Kingsbury, they would have made a bigger push for a mobile quarterback, because I just can't imagine his offense without a mobile quarterback. And maybe that ends up being Justin Fields. But it feels like Justin Fields wanted to be a Steeler, which is why he did get traded there. And things would have been different. I mean, the offense would definitely have a more of a higher floor, because Fields is in a pretty bad situation with Steelers as far as their offensive line and their receiver situation, and he's making things happen there. So I think the offense would have been better if they got those two.
I do wonder what would have been Davante's reaction if he was wide open and the ball sails to roll 14. But yeah, clearly Fields is, I mean, just watching him today, he's an electrifying player, man. He makes some plays unbelievable, and both ways, good and bad. Like, he actually made 2 or 3 great throws today, like on the run, like, fired it in there and made some awful throws. And he's obviously an amazing runner. I mean, just a guy who's got all the different speeds and shifts and kind of moves. And he's trying to throw in the pocket more often. You can see that at times. So I think I respect the effort. But just a wildly entertaining player who you have to live with the good and bad.
Yeah, I think they'd definitely be better. I don't know how much better, given all the injuries and whatnot, and it's hard to say what would have and wouldn't have happened. But he just has a lot more upside given his physical skills. I mean, he's a dynamic runner. He has a big arm. He doesn't always know how to use it with some of these overthrows that he has. But I definitely think the offense would have been better, and that would have made more sense to me. It would have been, I can't remember what the Steelers gave up draft compensation wise. What was it, a 6th-round pick or something like that? Like,
I think it was a 5th, but yeah.
Something at around, like, I think that's fine for a swing on a quarterback, and it's cheaper than $15 million guarantee, which is what they gave Gardner Minshew. But all in all, like that reunion with him and Getsy, I just don't think that was ever realistically going to happen, and so it was always going to be one or the other from that standpoint. And even with Kingsbury, I mean, the Raiders had that deal initially to sign him, and from what we know, I think the difference was the Commanders, I believe, offered him an extra year on his contract, and they also had a very, much clearer path to a quarterback that he would like to work with, given that they had the number 2 overall pick. So clearly, I think he made the right decision based on how things are going there with the Commanders, and so there's reasons why both of them aren't here.
From what I understand, he was ready to sign with the Raiders, but instead, typically a coordinator gets a 3-year deal, but they only wanted to give him 2, right?
Well, the Raiders do that for every assistant, though.
Yeah, the Raiders only get 2. So. There's some other stuff involved there. I think that Hugh Jackson was maybe coming in. There's all kinds of things behind the scenes are going on that were kind of, I think, and I'm sure the Commanders kind of came in the last moment, kind of upped the offer. So with Kingsbury, worked out fine for him. I'm wondering, going back to the Steelers, and like, what happens now? Like, Russell Wilson's healthy again. I'm sure he wants to play, and was told he's going to be the starter. So do they just keep Fields in there, even though with the highs and lows, or do they put Russell back in? And if you don't put Russell back in, is he now available? Is he a guy that they're going to trade, because he wouldn't be happy being a number 2 guy the rest of the year? I can't imagine he'd be a good locker room guy as far as that goes. So I don't know. I mean, I was dead against Russell Wilson in the offseason, but if you're the Raiders, do you trade for Russell Wilson?
I mean, the way this thing is trending, man, listen, they're probably about to be, like I said, at best, 3-6 at the trade deadline? Save your picks, man. Save your picks. They need to be getting picks at the dedeadline, not giving up picks.
I don't know. Russell Wilson helps you now. He definitely doesn't help you later. Like, I would pass.
Yeah, just go ahead and, I guess we can't say the tank word because they would never say that, but don't try your hardest to win this season necessarily.
Are you saying you should make business decisions?
I think the smart, because I think the worst outcome, like the worst outcome for the Raiders this season is they finish like 8-9 again.
It's always
and then
worse
you end up with
for every team.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like if they're not going to make the playoffs, which we've like last time they made the playoffs, they were in a kind of similar situation at this point in the year. But given that's probably not going to happen, it's better for them to just suck and get a high draft pick. So,
Hey, Vic, what do you think of Cam Ward against
I was,
your beloved Cal?
yeah, I knew that's what you were doing. I haven't seen enough. I wasn't terribly impressed by him in that game. I obviously came back and won the game, but I don't know if he's really a guy I see as a can't miss kind of guy. But I haven't watched enough of the quarterbacks yet. I've watched them on Saturdays, and I've seen Sanders. I've seen the guy from Texas. I've caught glimpses of him. No one to me like screams, "Oh, he's the guy who's going to save the franchise" at this point. So we'll see how the process plays out. But I don't know. Who knows?
I'm saying Shador. You gotta do this thing. Get Shador in here, man. Yeah, that's what I'm wrong with.
He's impressive. He's made some really big improvements this year. All right, Johnny B asks, "Is this the last year for our DC?"
I mean, I think he and Pierce work well together, and I think we talked about, you don't use the word tank, but you got enough injuries now. You can use that as an excuse defensively. You can say, "Hey, man, we lost all these guys, and we're doing our best, and the scheme's fine." So I don't think he's in any jeopardy of losing his job, and I don't know if he's going to be if he ever was the hot head coaching guy that he may have been at one point. But so my best guess is he's going to be here another year.
Yeah. I mean, defense has been bad this year, and I think they're tied for 27th in scoring defense right now. But we had high expectations for this defense, but we knew that this defense wasn't particularly deep. And I mean, if you told us before the season, they're going to lose Malcolm Kuntz, Christian Wilkins, Marcus Epps, Devon Diablo for a few games until now, and Max Crosby's going to have to play through a high ankle sprain. You told us all those things and asked us if the defense is going to be good, we would say no. And so, it doesn't make it any better that they're struggling on defense, but I think there's some pretty valid excuses on that side of the ball.
And I think the team tried to get a cornerback one, and Jack Jones was kind of expected to be that cornerback one after they couldn't get one, but he just hasn't. I don't want to put too much blame on him, but he just hasn't been that guy. So that's another big problem for the defense as well. But that's all the questions we'll take for today. Thanks for joining us, and we will preview the game again. Is it bye week this week or next week?
No,
No,
at the Rams.
Not a week. Yeah, it's a long time for the bye week, Ted.
At the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Bengals in the bye week.
Yeah, so we will preview the Rams game this Friday. Make sure you join us. Again, we really appreciate you guys coming on live with us, especially after a game like that. But yeah, we'll talk to you guys Friday.
All right, y'all. Peace.
All right. Adios.